We saw the Los Angeles Angels throw in the towel the other day by waiving 5 different players, and a lot of them could be useful to some playoff contenders. However, the Yankees also waived Harrison Bader, and the Jays are set to be in on him. He's someone that hits lefties very well and could provide some much needed relief amidst all these injuries for the Jays. So we'll break down that interest on this episode of Jays Digest, as well as Ricky Tiedemann. He has been shoving ever since he came off the injury list, so we'll break that down and much more coming up next. What's up, Jays fans? I'm your host, Peter Vryonis, alongside host Nick Gosse, and the Jays are getting into the stretch run now. 28 games remaining, if I'm not mistaken, and they have an off day today. So amidst all the madness, they have a day to relax, a day to collect themselves and compose themselves ahead of a big-time series against the Colorado Rockies. Now, it's not necessarily the Rockies that are big-time. It's the magnitude of the game that's really getting up there, and they got to go ahead and sweep this weekend series. There's no bones about it. I mean, they got to go out there and win 3 games in a row against Colorado and give themselves a better chance. They're now 2.5 games back in the wild card. They gained a game because the Mets somehow, by the graces of God, managed to win against the Texas Rangers. So the Jays are right in there, and those teams that they're facing, that they're fighting against for those final wild card spots, are all going to play against one another, and they're going to beat up on one another as well. So the Jays are in a decent spot, about as good as they could be, 2.5 games back here.
Yeah, they have no time to look back now. They need to win every single game, and what we're going to talk about in this video might help towards that. Before we do, make sure to subscribe button. We're on the road to 8,000. Let's just get right into the topic, which is a huge move could be coming for the Blue Jays. And today, kind of coincidentally, during their off day, which is August 31st, the waiver deadline is today, meaning today's the last day you can claim all these players that you discussed in the intro. And let's just get right into it. Some stuff came out recently. Of course, we discussed in yesterday's video all the Angels players, so we're not going to be discussing them as much. We'll briefly. But the biggest one here is Harrison Bader, and a report came out about an hour ago saying, while nothing is official until later today, it does sound like at least one AL East team has put in a claim for outfielder Harrison Bader. He was placed on the waivers on Tuesday and can be claimed for free by any team. Now, if the Jays, and some things came out basically saying solid chance it was the Jays. And looking at him, he has a 191 WRC plus against left-handed pitching. He's an elite defender, would seemingly fit very, very well with the Blue Jay system and as kind of a fourth outfielder platoon guy against left-handed pitching. Now, if this was the Jays, it doesn't mean they're guaranteed to get him. They're still, the order that we discussed in yesterday's video based on, record and things like that. But Peter, what are your thoughts on this? Do you think it was the Jays? I think it's a very, very solid chance it was the Jays, given some of the other teams in the AL East. Maybe the Rays could have, or Red Sox even could have thrown in there. But I think the Jays may have put a claim in for Bader, and ultimately we'll know in a few hours. But this could be huge for the Jays if they get him. I think he'd fit pretty well.
Yeah, absolutely. Someone that hits lefties that well was a big point of emphasis for the Blue Jays at the deadline. It ultimately didn't happen, but they do need someone to take over some of those reps, especially with all the injuries right now. I'm okay with Dalton Varsho playing every day. I'm okay with Kevin Kiermaier getting a rest every now and then, but you do need some more bats in that lineup. And we look at the way that he's been hitting lefties, someone that could be very useful to this lineup. And he was the Yankees' best hitter in the playoffs last season. Aaron Judge was struggling big time, and Harrison Bader found his power stroke all of a sudden. So he was a big time bat, and obviously we know about his defense. It's platinum glove level. His base running, he's a great base runner. He could steal a base every now and then. The only problem with him is that he hasn't been able to stay healthy, but that's because he's had to be an everyday player for the Yankees. He won't have to go ahead and do that for the Blue Jays. So I would definitely be in on Harrison Bader. I spoke about my interest on Hunter Renfroe as well, and I'm sure the Jays are in on him, but I feel like there would be a few more suitors for Renfroe. So Bader and maybe Randall Grichuk are the 2 options right now that the Jays have at their disposal, and I'd love to see them go out and acquire one, because right now they're putting out these lineups 6 through 9 that are just not cutting it. And Espinal has had a couple of good games in a row, but if he's your everyday third baseman, if he's your everyday shortstop for the stretch run here, I don't think your team's going to go anywhere in October.
Yeah, we have, Ernie Clement, who's been playing very, very well, David Schneider, but who knows how long that will, be sustainable for. And looking at Harrison Bader's stats this year, he has about a 74 WRC plus, so slightly below league average hitter, but you look at his defense, he's unbelievable, and like you said, he mashes lefties, so in theory, he would play most likely when there is a lefty. Maybe he'd start in center field, you keep Varsho in the game in left field, or maybe you put Witt in left field, but regardless, having another outfielder that can kind of maintain, at this point, Kevin Kiermaier level defense this year in the outfield against left-handed pitchers would be very, very big. And Like you said, Hunter Renfro's another guy who provides much more of, pop off the bat, but, probably more suitors for Hunter Renfro than Harrison Bader. So I think, like you said, Grichuk or Harrison Bader will be the guys that maybe in a few hours, 5 or 6 hours, might be Blue Jays. But let us know what your thoughts are in the comments section, and hopefully the Jays can get some guy just to give them kind of a boost. Any final thoughts on this before we move on?
Yeah, like you said, I mean, he's someone that would definitely help out this team, and he fits the mold of what they were trying to do. Elite base runner, unbelievable defender. So definitely sounds like a Blue Jay already. I'm not sure who the AL East team that put a claim in on him was. However, it wouldn't shock me if it was the Toronto Blue Jays, because they need help, and it's pretty obvious. And right now, they're on an uphill climb for that final wild card spot, and you need all the help you can get. Davis Schneider has been unbelievable. He's been the best hitter in this lineup over the past couple of games, but he needs someone around him to step up. And I'm looking at Vladdy. Vladdy's got to go out there and be the Vladdy that we all know and love, and other guys got to step up and amidst all these injuries here.
Yeah, I agree, and we'll know in a little bit later today. You might have a video on this, but just something interesting to note. But let's move on now to Ricky Tiedemann, and he had a bit of a couple rocky starts when he first got called up, but really ever since his call up in general, he's been very, very dominant, and this continued to play in August 29th, so a couple days ago. Ricky Tiedemann was back looking like his usual dominant self. 3 2/3, 2 hits, 1 earned run, 11 strikeouts, and 64 pitches. Every single out he recorded was via the strikeout. Go check out Thomas Hall's tweet. You can look at the video and look at all the strikeouts. You can see him painting a strike 3. I believe it was a slider there, a fastball or something, change up. But Peter, Ricky Tiedemann is a guy that he's starting to get more pitches now, and he's a bit healthier, faster than me and you probably would have thought. He's really starting to ramp up towards the end of the minor league season, and I foresee a world where maybe they even start next season with him. Maybe not at the start, but I think he plays next season given what we're seeing now, because he is ramping up quickly. It might not be the start of next season. They probably want to put him through AAA first, but maybe halfway through the year next year they call up Ricky Tiedemann, the way he just made these AA hitters look like fools.
Yeah, I mean, 11 strikeouts when 11 outs were recorded. That's unbelievable. And his stuff might be the best in the organization, not even in the pipeline for the Toronto Blue Jays. He might have the best stuff out of any pitcher, and that includes Kevin Gausman, that includes Trevor Richards, that includes Jordan Romano, Jordan Hicks. His stuff is that electric, and he's got 3+ pitches. His fastball is unbelievable. His curveball is a wipeout curveball, and his changeup is probably his best pitch. Now, I know he throws 98, 99, but his changeup actually has a 70 grade when you look at his prospect ranking. So he's phenomenal. His stuff is amazing. I'd give him a full year in AAA, maybe as a September call-up next year, maybe a little bit earlier than that if he forces the Blue Jays' hand, but you don't want to rush him. You want him to be fully healthy, and you don't want him to have to come up and be on a limit either. You don't want him to be out there starting a game and he could only throw 65 pitches and he gets you into the 5th inning and then he can't see the game out, So I want him to be fully ready. I want him to be able to handle the full workload once he is ready to come to the majors, and it's just great to see him dominating after a couple of rocky starts off the injury list.
Yeah, and I think that they're going to play it slow with Ricky Tiedemann, I guess, especially given what happened with Nate Pearson, Alpanoa to a degree, calling him back up. But it's great to see that he is back to being the Ricky Tiedemann that is a top 100 prospect in baseball. And like you said, some of the best stuff in the system, the whole team, and as well in the pipeline. But let's move on now to the quick final topic, which has some big injury updates. And these were a couple of days ago, and there's just some stuff to go over here. Obviously, we have the Bichette stuff. There's a couple of more on that, and an update on Bichette's level or degree of injury. He said Bichette's quad strain was described as mild, but he's down and will need at least 10 days. And of course, John Schneider said the Jays will cover shortstop creatively with Clement, Espinal, and McCoy. It's going to get weird. It's going to get dirty, ugly, crazy. This was a couple days ago, and we've ultimately saw that it has gotten a little bit crazy. Clement's been playing very, very well. Espinal's been playing well recently. John Schneider himself probably hasn't been, managing as well as, I would have liked, but I'm going to leave that. I know we saw some comments in yesterday's video why we didn't touch on that with the whole McCoy thing. Lots of people covered that. It was no one understands why he did that. He spoke about it in the press conference, but I'll move on from that. But Peter, couple injury updates here. Matt Chapman, something to note, he is on the IL, and he wasn't himself when he was back. He was making errors. He wasn't hitting the ball well. He's been a below league average hitter since May, really months ago. So him getting a bit of a break is not the worst thing in the world. Any thoughts on these injury lists? Because so far, since this has happened, they've held it down pretty well in Clement and Espinal.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing coming into the season for the Jays was their depth, and we thought that would be one of their strong points, and it hasn't been. A lot of guys have underperformed. But when you do have injuries like this, it's got to be a next man up mentality. And Santiago Espinal, Ernie Clement, Kevin Biggio as well have all played phenomenally. And they've kept the Blue Jays in these games. A lot of their big time players are just not hitting right now. Dalton Varsho has started to step up, and I like what I'm seeing out of the team. They've shown a little bit of fight in the past couple of games here. I know it's not ideal to only take 2 out of 3 against the rebuilding Washington Nationals team, but we got to remember who's getting put out there on that field right now. And I've been happy with the work that Espinal and Clement have been putting in. So hopefully they can keep it going. And everyone's got to step up. It's got to be a collective effort here for the Blue Jays and get through these injuries. And hopefully you're in a decent spot once you do get all those guys back.
Yeah, and the Nationals are playing very, very good baseball before coming to town to the Blue Jays. So given the lineup, our best hitter has been out now for a little bit over the past months. The Jays are okay, and the one thing that Jays fans can hold on to, and we might have a video on this in the future, is that the AL West teams that we're competing against for the wildcard spot play each other a bunch. So the Jays kind of control their own destiny in a way, considering they play the Rangers in early September. But that'll wrap up the video. Let us know your thoughts.
The Jays play Texas as well. The
yeah.
Jays have a 4-game series against Texas, which is the team that they are directly chasing. They're on their back right there, and that whoever wins that series might decide that final wild.
Yeah, that might be the season defining, kind of game 163 that we used to see in years past. But that'll wrap up the video. Thank you guys for watching, and hopefully the Jays can win tomorrow. And we might see you later today if they sign Harrison Bader or someone else. See you later.